Well, greetings, world, and greetings, Seven Spot. We are live once again. Wasn't that an adventure in Argentina, folks? This is going to be an equal adventure because we're going from South America now to North America, and we're in Colorado. But where in Colorado are we, Bobby?
So I live in the foothills to the southwest of Denver.
Hmm.
I live at about 7,200 feet in elevation.
Wow. And what
Yeah.
and you sent me an email, and I really appreciate it, telling me if we gotta want to do this walk around, we better get it happening before the snow flies. So folks, this is never about me. It's about
Yeah.
Bobby Winter Road and her story and her seven. Now, this is one we touched on before because she was kind enough to come online and tell us why she built a seven. But now she's
Mhm.
going to show us what she built. So I'm going to exit stage left. And Bobby, the show is yours.
All right. Let me switch cameras here. There we go.
Oh, isn't that lovely?
So that is my Westfield that my
Hmm.
husband and I built.
Hmm.
It took us about a year
Yeah.
and was fully licensed and complete in October of 2016. So almost 5 years ago now.
Wow. Nice. And
And
it's a Miata.
yeah. This specific kit uses a Miata donor.
Hmm.
So the engine, transmission, the drive shaft has to be modified because this is a longer wheelbase than a
Okay.
Miata.
Hmm.
So the drive shaft gets lengthened. The differential, half shaft, ECU wiring harness, and gauge cluster are
Wow.
all out of a Miata.
Lovely.
The rest of it comes with the Westfield kit.
Uh-huh.
I'll go here and you can kind of see inside a little bit. You
Hmm.
can see that anybody who's had a Miata, you can see that Miata gauge cluster there.
Yep.
Um,
It
so
looks
so
really good.
thank you.
I'm impressed. I mean, I've seen a number of kits being built, including my own, but I love the fit and finish. It looks great.
Thank you. Yeah, it definitely was quite the labor of love.
Hmm.
Um, and it's, the building of it is one aspect. And then there's, to me, the driving was the whole goal of it, right? Getting it
Yeah.
together and finally getting to drive
Well,
it.
I'm going to ask you the dumb question that we started off with before, which is why did you decide to build a seven?
Mm.
And because I just want to hear your prisoner story.
Yeah, so I was a teenager. Prisoner is definitely before my time,
Hmm.
but I had family who was just loved sci-fi,
Yep.
and they probably got into British sci-fi starting with Doctor Who, of course.
Hmm.
Um, but we had these old VHS tapes of the Prisoner series sitting around.
Wow.
So, I'm like 13 or something. Decided, oh, let's check this out. So I watched the Prisoner,
Hmm.
and those opening credits. You see him drive along with
Hmm.
his seven, and I just thought that is the coolest car ever.
And
And
you are right.
so that's what started it. And then fast forward many years later, I was with some colleagues. We were at work talking about kind of dream cars. What car would you love to have? And I said, the old Lotus Super 7. And I, had never seriously looked into like purchasing one or anything like that. I just kind of ran off the assumption they've got to be expensive. There's only so many of them. British car. And one of my friends said, well, you can build one, right?
Hmm.
And I went, wait, what do you mean? And so he gave me the link to Flying Miata, who
Yep.
at the time had information about the Westfield kit on their website.
Hmm.
And from there, started thinking about it a little bit more seriously. And my husband and I, we were taking a vacation, driving along the mountains, the Rocky Mountains out here in Colorado, and
Hmm.
went up to where Flying Miata is in Palisade, and went in to check things out. And I actually got to test drive the owner's 7, very savvy businessman. Because when I left, I said, how much, what do I need to put down to get the Miata parts? Start with that portion of the kit, and start this process. So yeah, that's how it started, and that was probably back in 2013, 2014.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so the adventure started. I'm really impressed with the pictures you sent me of the build. And I really, one question that I have to ask you, because I built one too, mine is bike engined, and so the wiring loom that I had came from the bike. Now yours came from the Miata, and I've seen pictures of you sitting there at the table sorting out yours. But what did you have to do to the loom to make it work for this?
So because we're still using the Miata engine, transmission, ECU, all of that stuff, arguably we didn't have to do anything.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of excess wiring in that loop.
Yes.
So we sat down, it took over my dining room table for a couple of weeks, and went through and started just clipping out the stuff we weren't going to need.
Wow.
Things like air conditioning, those silly, pesky things.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we thankfully, Flying Miata, I cannot rave about those guys enough. Sadly, they don't do this type of stuff anymore, especially with COVID and some other EPA changes. They've kind of changed their business format, but they still are phenomenal guys. They have always been super helpful. The wiring harness, when they sent it to me, was completely labeled. So every single end was labeled, and it was super, super easy to handle. So we would just start with one tag, look and see what it was, and look through and say, okay, do we need this or not, and start clipping away a lot of things that we don't need.
Wow, that is terrific service. Wow.
Yeah, and so we, part of it is, going back to Colin Chapman and add lightness. We got rid of that stuff simply to just, it was excess. We don't need it. So we trimmed it out just to keep it a little lighter.
Wow. What a beauty.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you're most welcome. What can I say? Take us for a walk around. Show us some more details. I love it. That little windscreen on or the side, the air deflectors.
Oh yeah.
That's something I have not seen before. Those are great. Look at that. There's no mud.
They make
it's going to hit anybody. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Even more, out where I live, there's a lot of side twisty, windy roads that are perfect to take these types of cars on. But sometimes I do have to get on the highway. And when you're at those higher speeds, the wind deflectors are almost mandatory, because the turbulence, the way the wind comes around the windscreen, and the turbulence, you kind of get that feeling of the wind being taken, the breath being taken away from you.
Yeah.
And not in a good way. So those deflectors, I want to say I found those actually on eBay. I was searching for wind deflectors, and everything I was seeing was for Caterings or Birkins. And there was a guy on eBay, and I reached out to him and said, do you happen to make anything for a Westfield? Because especially because like this section in here along the scuttle is so different. What's made for a Catering or a Birkin doesn't fit right.
Doesn't fit right. No. Yeah.
And so he was kind enough to say, you know what? Let me think about this. I have a friend who has a Westfield. Let me investigate and see what I can do. And a couple of weeks later, he got back to me and said, hey, I've got some prototypes made. I tried them on my friend's car. They look great. Seem to work. Are you still interested?
Wow, that's
great.
Yeah.
So yeah, those were fantastic. Of course, I went with the clamshell fenders, the wings instead of the cycle fenders.
Yeah.
To me, that's just my style. I like that fender look.
Of course you did.
Yeah. But of course, that's not for everybody, right? But that's also part of the beauty of a 7.
Yeah.
One interesting thing that we've recently had to do. So again, I live at elevation. I live at 7,200 feet. there's a lot less oxygen or a lot less air here.
Yeah.
Not so much the oxygen, but the air.
Mm-hmm.
And if you guys can see it.
Yeah.
So we recently had to put in this air dam here. You can kind of see it along here. It's an entire box that goes around. It goes along, basically fits inside this little section of the nose cone here. Terrific and goes idea. All the way straight back to the radiator.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Westfield kit doesn't have anything in there.
Yep.
And you've got a lot of gaps around your radiator.
Yeah. And I think I commented in our previous video that I just thought that was the very best idea, and I was going to steal it, and I have. It's a terrific. Yeah. After the video, we're finished here, I will post a picture of that and add it to the I guess as a comment to this video. But that is terrific because air will find its easiest route to escape, and if it can bypass the radiator, that's exactly what it'll do. Yeah, and out here, we need every benefit we can get. We ended up talking with there's a gentleman who used to work for Rocky Mountain Catering, the previous iteration of Rocky Mountain Catering. It has come back to life out here in Colorado recently. So there's a new set of owners. And anyway, this other gentleman, Nathan was one of the engineers for Rocky Mountain Catering's previous iteration, and called him up and was like, "Oh man, Nathan, we seem to be struggling a little bit with keeping the engine cool." And talked with him a little bit, sent him pictures, and he's like, "Oh, that's right." He said, "Every Catering that we built out here in Colorado, we had to add that ducting into the nose cone. It's number of factors out here. We're basically a desert environment, high elevation desert, but Denver's basically a desert. And between that and the thinner air, it creates a lot of struggles with just how radiators work and how that airflow does its normal process of cooling. So he said we had to do these on everything that we built back in the day. Wow. It's a very tidy job.
Little tips and tricks.
Yeah, and I love the seats. Now those seats, the color match is beautiful. And are those Miata seats as well, or tell us about those?
No, the seats actually came with the kit, and you get to choose. You choose your color combination with some. There are some limitations to it. There was certain things like on the inside, I wanted the carpeting to be blue with black piping.
Yep.
Unfortunately, the electric blue is not an option in the carpeting, or it wasn't at the time I bought the kit. So, but I kind of still went with that electric blue and black color combination even inside.
Looks great.
Just to kind of keep the whole look and the flow. But yeah, you get to, you can choose your piping color. The inset here, there's some color options with that. Now I did on these seats, again, based on where I live, I got the upgraded heated seats.
Oh, nice.
Yes. Yeah. And I've definitely made good use of those out here, especially at times like this where, this morning when we got up, it was probably 28 to 32 degrees Fahrenheit. So a little below 0 Celsius.
Wow. You weren't kidding. You weren't kidding when you said it could snow any day.
It absolutely can. Yeah. So we're already getting those real crisp, cool mornings and evenings. And we get real cold overnight. And then during the day, we'll have some interesting temperature spikes, pretty drastic swings in temperature. So yeah. Some other things, I chose for the steering wheel, I chose to go with the removable racing steering wheel.
Good for you.
Which it's funny, when I first got the car, I used it all the time to just kind of get in and out.
Yep.
Until, first month or two. And then once kind of okay, this is how I can step in and just slide right in without having to remove the steering wheel.
Yep.
I hardly ever remove it now unless I'm, parking someplace where I'm not going to be around it, and I'm like, I'd like a little extra security measure, or I just, yeah. So I now that's when I remove it. Otherwise, I don't need to take it out anymore to get in and out of the car.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I do the same thing, and I get all those strange looks as I'm going through the grocery store carrying my steering wheel.
Yes, yeah. It's definitely a conversation starter, isn't it?
Yeah.
Definitely a conversation starter. Oh,
Absolutely.
something else that people might want to think about that I got were these lighting setups. And again, this is something I Googled and found online. And they are connected up to the brake lights and the turn signals. So they're both red and amber. And yeah, they just, have like a really strong sticky back tape on them.
Oh, that's perfect. I love that.
And then the wire comes down here and wires directly into the lights, and you're good. Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Just, a little bit more visibility, because you are pretty exposed in these cars.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's brilliant. I've got a similar thing just for the brake light on my roll cage, but just to have the turn signals and the brakes on that as well. That's brilliant. That's absolutely great. I love it.
Yeah.
And a tonneau cover. Brilliant.
Yep. I've got the tonneau cover. I also, I do have the side panels. I don't use them very often, but I also went and had a half hood made.
Oh, did you?
Which, yeah. And I know a lot of people, I learned about the half hoods because one of the other local 7 owners had gotten one through Soft Bits for 7s. But, sometimes, and especially in the last year, getting things shipped over to us from the UK can be a struggle, or it can take a bit of time to get them. So I drove down to, I actually went to a local company that does like canvas tops for boats.
Oh, yeah.
And I, called them up, drove over to them. And of course, it was fun driving the car over, and then the whole shop has to come out and look. And I talked with them about what I was looking for and said, basically I need, the half hood to go from the windscreen to the roll bar. And I wanted the double zip outs, so it zips, you've got the top where it zips out, to make it easier to get in and out. And so, yeah, so I did that, and, they, made it all for me. Now, because this is a Westfield doesn't have, and I think it's part of the differentiating between the companies, they don't have all snaps along the top of the windscreen.
Well, I was going to ask, right? How do you attach it then?
So there is a plastic piece that fits right along here, and you can see there are 2 snaps.
Yes.
There's one on each corner. So there's a hard plastic piece that follows that line over, and the fabric wraps around that. And so that slips on.
You're a source of information for me and inspiration. Let me tell you that I've been thinking about the top just like that, and I similarly have no snaps, and that is the way to go. That's brilliant.
So there are a couple of tricks with it, though, I have to warn you, because the way that Westfield did those, let me see if I can grab the top real quick. I've got it back here under the tonneau. There it is. I'm pulling this out here.
That's all right. It's a one-handed thing, isn't it?
Yes, yes. I should call Scott over and be like, hey, cameraman, get over here. Okay. So if you can see that, right? So this is the plastic piece. The problem with this, the flaw, oh, here he comes. He heard me. All right, I'm going to pass the camera off. So
greetings,
this is
Scott.
that piece. Jim says hi. This is that plastic piece. And, it fits over. If you want to go around. It fits over like this.
Yeah.
Right? The problem is, and again, probably if you're over 30 miles an hour, it doesn't want to stay. It will, the snaps will stay.
Yeah.
It'll start lifting and the snaps will stay. And what'll happen is you'll get this kind of bobbing up and down.
Mm-hmm.
So what Westfield originally had done, if you can see this here,
Yes.
it was supposed to, there's a little, we've got the
Ah.
screw in there, but there was a little piece where it was supposed to snap in, but the
Mm-hmm.
plastic wasn't strong enough to handle the
Yes, I get it. Yeah.
all that pressure that comes off of it. So
Mm-hmm.
what we did was we took a piece of, I think that's aluminum,
Yeah.
and bent it to fit around this.
Brilliant.
And then to protect the top, we covered this. This is just sticky back felt.
Mm-hmm.
So we just stuck the felt on, and then what we do is we run this screw through it.
Yeah.
There was already this hole here for the screw in the frame,
Mm-hmm.
and so we did that. So I pop it on, I screw this in, and that's enough to keep everything from coming loose and bouncing around.
Nice and snug. That's brilliant.
Yeah. And then you can see there the double zip outs that I was talking about.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
And the boat guys made that for you.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
So I
And
took
look at
the car down and go ahead.
I'm impressed. I mean, look at it. It rolls up into almost nothing, and it fits right in.
Oh yeah.
In the boot.
Rolls right up and just fits right back in the boot. And I even still have some tools in the boot with it. It just fits basically right there under the tonneau.
That's brilliant, Bobbi. This is just such a pleasure for me, and I told you before, because you are our first lady walk around, and I am so impressed with the job that you did.
Oh, thank you.
And I congratulate your cameraman too for this.
Thank you. I'll let him know
the modest amount of assistance he may have.
There he is. Yeah. I will, if I can. I'm going to toss something out there really quickly. Well, two things. One, this is not just a man's car.
No.
I have had so much fun with this.
Mm-hmm.
I just got back from a 1,500-mile trip in it.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's about 2,400 kilometers by myself. Well, not completely by myself. I was in the car by myself. Yeah. I went with my local Lotus Club.
Cool.
And logged the Lotus Owners Gathering that Lotus Limited sponsors was in Salt Lake a couple of weeks ago, and I was out there for that.
Wow. Nice.
So drove out there, enjoyed all these windy mountain roads that we have. And they actually took a moment at Lotus Limited to acknowledge all of the women Lotus owners.
That is great.
And it was fantastic because there was quite a few. I was really surprised. They asked us at the banquet to stand up to be, acknowledged.
Yeah.
And when I looked around the room, I'd say there was easily about 40 of us.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Yeah. Now we're not all 7 owners, but we were all Lotus or, Lotus inspired car owners.
Wow.
So yeah. Oh, our dog had to get in the picture there.
Yeah, right. just been video bombed.
Yes. And the only other thing I wanted to point out, I hope you don't mind, Jim, I'm going to take this opportunity. If anybody's interested in the 7 but not up for building it, my husband and I are going to become digital nomads. So we are selling this.
Okay. Yeah, I don't mind at all.
Yeah. So if anybody's interested, you want to come take it for a test drive out in Colorado, although you might want to time it with the snow.
Well, I don't mind if I hope you don't mind. I'd like to share this with my local Lotus group that I'm affiliated with, because who knows, might have someone who'd be interested in making a contact with you on that very point, because I do know of some people who are looking for. Oh,
awesome. I would appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
I'd be honored to pass it that way. And it's just a gorgeous car. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I congratulate you, and congratulations on your next adventure, wherever your video nomading will take you.
Yeah. Well, I know one thing. This is not my last 7. And I'm going to be wherever we finally, after we travel around for a while, wherever we finally decide to settle down, I'm sure I'm going to be in the market for another one. Whether we build it or not, I don't know yet. But yeah, it's definitely not the last one.
It's great. Well, I'm going to put myself back in the picture because I mean, what can I say? It is an amazing thing that you have done there. And I am so pleased. I think I've told you so many times. I'm just tickled to have you with us because it's just I've had a lot of contact with people, ladies who own sevens, but I have not seen anybody other than you who had wanted to stand up and stand in front of the camera and say, "This is mine."
Yeah.
So, congratulations. And to wit, you've given us 25 minutes of your time. I really appreciate it. We absolutely love it. And I'm going to say, have a wonderful time in your digital nomading, and we will catch you later.
Sounds fantastic. Thanks,
All right.
Jim.
All right. Cheers for now. Talk to you soon, and I will send some names your way.
Fantastic. Thanks, Jim. Have a great day.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.